Chapter 24 The Pipe Tunnel and Prince. Vula couldn't believe her eyes. She was in the park next to Hamilton's swimming pool. She stared into the dark opening in front of her. Peter, his mate Bob, and Stephen Haddis had gone into the huge pipe tunnel. Out of this pipe, a stream of water poured out. The pipes were about 2 meters wide and about the same height. Since the pipe tunnel wasn't finished, it had been left open, and the water came out of it onto the ground and continued along until it joined the Grangeburn River. It took another couple of years before the pipe tunnel was finished and covered up. However, to a child, a couple of years is a long time. Until the work was finished, the children enjoyed playing there, while their parents didn't know where they were. Now, standing in front of the tunnel, Vula watched the water as it came out of the open pipe. She remembered the boys had said they wanted to go exploring. Didn't they know how dangerous it was to go in the water tunnel? After a few minutes, she could hear them shouting in the pipe tunnel. They were enjoying the echo of their voices. Vula slowly walked into the tunnel and made some noises to listen to her voice too. This was fun. Maybe she could go in further. As she walked, there was a sudden turn and everything became completely black. When she stretched out her hand, Vula couldn't see it. This was too scary for her, so she turned around and ran outside into the daylight. However, she wanted to be brave, so she tried again. This time she picked up the family dog, Prince, for comfort, and carried him into the tunnel. Still, because she couldn't see where she was walking, it really frightened her. Prince wasn't much help, because he was trying to get free. He didn't like it either. What if he could smell some danger? What if a stranger was hiding in here, or maybe a poisonous eel or a snake? She had seen eels in the stream, so she knew they could easily be in the tunnel too. Nope, she felt afraid and she couldn't go into the darkness, so she turned back. She couldn't hear the boys' voices anymore. Where were they? Would they get out unhurt? How would she explain all of this to her mother? After about half an hour, Stephen came running towards her. To her surprise, he was running on top of the pipes and not inside the tunnel. "How did you get out?" Vula questioned Steve. Stephen explained, "There's an opening near Thompson Street, outside the footy oval." Vula was still worried and asked, "Where are the others?" He told her, "They're coming back inside the tunnel, but I was too scared. I got out of the opening, even though they called me a chicken. I didn't want to go back inside the tunnel." Vula could understand exactly how Stephen felt. He was honest. Not everyone is a reckless superhero. Still, it was a big surprise to hear where the boys had gone, because to get to the opening, the boys had travelled about 1.5 kilometres inside the dark tunnel. Vula thought they were crazy. It was very dangerous. It soon became a favourite place for the boys, who often went into the pipe tunnel to play. Once the boys told Vula they saw a water snake in there, and it had given them a good scare. Danger creates caution, and after that they would ride their bikes inside the tunnel, just in case another snake came along. However, when the boys rode their bikes, they couldn't climb out at the other end of the tunnel because the opening on Thompson Street had a grate, which they could climb through, but it was too small to get their bikes out. Therefore, they always had to hang a U-turn and come back to the tunnel opening next to the swimming pool. Sometimes Vula and Prince would go running along the stream to where it joined the Grangeburn River. A little further along there was a bridge with no name on Portland Road, just before it becomes the Henty Highway. Under the bridge it was shady and peaceful. Vula enjoyed the gentle sounds of running water and the croaking of the frogs in the water grass. It was a favourite spot for Vula and Prince, but also for all the kids. One afternoon, the three Haddis brothers, Peter and Bob, rode their bikes to the bridge. They saw Peggy Haddis and Vula with Prince sitting below the bridge. The girls' bikes were lying on the grass beside them as they talked and listened to the quiet sounds around them. They were pulling at the long green grass beside them. After a few minutes, Peter called Prince to come to him. The dog ran up the slope and wagged his tail against Peter's leg. What did Prince look like? He was a black mongrel dog, about 50 centimetres high. He was a good dog, but he didn't like water, and he hated having a bath. Prince didn't know what Pete had decided to do. Peter wanted his dog to learn to swim, and there was only one way Peter knew how to do that. He picked up his pet and dropped him over the bridge into the river 3 metres below. Peggy and Vula stood up to look for Prince where he had dropped into the water. They were worried about him. Bubbles came up where Prince had fallen in. He had hit the water on his belly. It must have hurt him. Poor Princey! The children all waited for him to come up out of the water, but they only saw more bubbles. Everyone felt badly for Prince. Even Peter had his doubts. They started calling their dog repeatedly and hoping he could hold his breath under water for what seemed like a long time. Just when everyone thought Prince had drowned, he suddenly popped his head out of the water. The girls called to him as he swam to the water's edge. However, he didn't come to the girls for some hugs. Prince ran up the slope and ran away from the children. He was frightened, and maybe Prince thought the kids had tried to kill him. From that time, his personality changed. Prince was never the same again. Their dog became angry and more aggressive. Whenever a car drove by the house, Prince would jump over the 1-metre fence and chase after it. Then he would bite the back tyre and not let go until the wheel had turned him round and round 2 or 3 times. After that, he would let go of the tyre and fall on the road, barking loudly at the departing car. He also barked at people walking past the house, and most times he would jump the fence and attack their shoes and ankles. Whenever this happened, the children tried to stop him, but of course someone complained to the dog pound. The dog catcher came to their front door. He wore an akubra hat and held a dangerous-looking rifle over his shoulder. He knocked on the door loudly, and when the scared kids saw him in the doorway, they ran to get their mother. Argiro was shocked to see a man with a rifle at her front door. When he ordered her to give him their dog, she shouted at him, "Get out! Go away!" After some arguing, he left, but he warned Argiro that he would be back to shoot the dog if he had any more complaints from people. Sadly, about 4 years later, Prince finally did die, but he wasn't killed by the dog catcher. Prince was chasing after another dog when he ran across Bell Street, a busy road in Melbourne, and got hit by a car. He crawled back onto the footpath where Vula and Argiro had chased after him. They couldn't do anything to help Prince. He died while Vula spoke his name with a trembling voice and patted him. Poor Prince! He had lived a short but exciting life.